Right, congratulations. If you made it this far in the series, we have finally finished Bereshith, which is Genesis. There is not too much more to go on in the women's series of this book. So we're going to wrap it up with a few scriptures. So is that easy? Look how easy and look how fast we got through Genesis. Now, if you've been following along in the series, all right, a lot of this stuff you don't have to really go back and look up. You can just go back to your notes and it'll help you in life because you know what's at play. You have read it already. Now you can go back and reread it. But as you see, there's a lot of verses and chapters we skipped out. Why? Because there's a lot that's talked about for the men. All right, so the men section would have a lot more talking about. All right, so the men, we're going to have a lot more situations, viewpoints and perspectives of what's going on. And some men you may talk to right now, if you go back to those sections, they may give you ideas of what they think may happen. But if they don't know the entire scripture, if they're not truly living this life of scripture, they're not going to have many details to go into. All right, so as we continue on, we're going to start in chapter 41. And then we're going to go to verse 45. It says, and Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zapnath Paneah, and he gave him as a wife Asnath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. And Joseph went out over all the land of Mizraim. So we see here, you want to look up Pharaoh. All right, who is Pharaoh? All right. Call Joseph's name. You want to know who Joseph is? When we get in the men series, we're going to talk about Joseph. I don't know if we're going to go through the men series right away of this same book. I don't know if I'm going to tackle it that way or just continue to go on with the women throughout the entire Bible and then go back to the beginning with the men. But maybe I should just start with the men. Who knows? But we see here, Pharaoh gave him and he gave him as a wife Asenath. All right, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. All right, so a priest gave him a daughter of a priest. All right, and he also went out over the land of Mary. So I told you, these people from different races, religions, and things like that, they know how to give good gifts and wives. Now, she was a priest of their religion, maybe, probably, but she's a spiritual woman. So if she's going to cross over and follow their religion, it should be all good, right? She should be able to use her study, the way she studied that religion, and her good qualities, and to transfer it over. So it's a possibility a woman from a different faith, maybe she was in Satanism, and you spoke to her, showed her love. She never felt it before, and nobody ever treated her that way, and it's a reason why she got into it. She may change, and if she says she changed, you have to really allow her to do that. You have to allow her to change. You can't force her to go back into those things, all right? And then women, if you want to change from a different religion, you have to start slow. You're not going to right away, look at this. You're not going to have self-control in every area of your life unless you really are good at self-control. And then you got other fruits of the spirit that you have to bring along with it. And what is self-control? That's your impulses. That's your efforts, right? That's what you're giving off, all right? If you can't control yourself in eating, let's say you eat too much, overeating, all right, indulging in that, that's a sin as well. All right, we're going to go into those things as well, but you have to be able to control yourself. If you act too good and do too much good all the time, remember the Bible says don't be too good or too bad. Ecclesiastes, we got that script that up, that video up as well. So it's certain things and how you want to live, but you always want to go back to God. You want to always be serving God in every area of your life. As we continue on, we're going to go to verse 50, and it says, and to Joseph were born two sons before the years of scarcity of food came, whom Asenath, all right, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, born to him. All right, so this woman, two sons, before the years of scarcity of food came. All right, so it talks about scarcity of food. Remember that. Remember we heard about scarcity of food back when in one of these series? What happened? All right, so we see scarcity of food. We already know it's something that's going to go down in these next passages and verses, but that's not for us to read because it's not really involving women right now. It's involving all the people of the land. It's involving Joseph. It's a lot going on. All right, so when you break it down into little parts, it's easier to get through it. When you focus just on the women's section, you want to go just to the parts that's talking about women and the main things that they're doing. Like here, for example, Chapter 43, we have, and he lifted his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, is this your younger brother of whom you spoke to me? And he said, Elohim, show favor to you, my son. All right, so we see here. That's women, you identify children, all right? You identify your kids. That's how they're going to be identified by. You see, he's telling him, like, he don't know where his brother at. He lifted up his eyes. He saw his brother, his mother's son, all right? He goes, that's my mom's other kid. They probably got a different dad. We don't know here what's going on. All right, they probably got the same dad, but they talk about his mother's son. So what is that talking about here? Is he more like Jacob, who was with his mother more? And then, the other sons were loved by their dad more, all right? So is he more like the mother when they talk about a complete man, all right? Remember, in the last series, one of the series of videos we got, it talks about one was a complete man and the other was, a hunter of the field and things like that. It talks about the two brothers and describes them. Now, his mother's son, all right? That's going to be key there, all right? So that's why we bring this verse up, all right? They're describing who he is. He's like, that's his mother's son, all right? It's a lot that's going on between these brothers. It's a lot that's went on before we got to this verse, but that's going to be key there. So, we see it now when people talk about it. Oh, that's his daddy's. That's his daddy's right there. He acts just like his daddy and things like that. That's how people, describe you. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it's just depending on the relationship you have with your parents and the relationship they have with each other. Maybe one may not like each other as much. Why don't the brothers, why aren't they around their brother right now? We're going to find out more when we get to the men series. So all these little pieces and verses will make sense. Now, we go to chapter 44. We start at verse 27. It says, then your servant, my father, said to us, you know that my wife bore me 2 sons, and the one went out from me, and I said, truly, he is torn to pieces, and I have not seen him since. And if you take this one from me too, and harm comes to him, you shall bring down my gray hair with evil to Sheol. All right. Find out what Sheol is. All right. And you see, it talks about taking the life of someone's child, the pain that comes with it, the feelings that come with that. All right. He's talking about, you shall bring down my gray hair with evil to Sheol. Like he's telling, it's going to be too much for him, And if you take this one from me too, and harm comes to him, it's like he's trying his best to prevent that, right? He don't know what happened to this other son. All right. You don't know where he's at. He said that he's gone. They took him from him. He's gone, There's some people that know where their kids are, something that's happened to them, and they can't get them back. They could have been, murdered, killed, passed away, but the feelings that is shown within these scriptures see that, that's tough. That's a tough feeling, right? We see that as a parent, as a wife giving birth. You're going to see that there's situations where that man cannot take care of their children in all situations, all right? If someone takes him from him, maybe he's too small, not strong enough. Or maybe he is strong enough and it's too many people and they just get your child and they're gone. You could look at your husband all day, every day, all that you want, and you're not getting your child back. No matter how much he exercise, work out, look for him, you're not going to get him back. It's nothing you could do. How do you feel? But with God is different because God protects all of us at all times, and He's with us in every situation. If something happened, he allows it to happen. Just like when we seen, did you watch the section showing love to Satan, your enemies, love your enemies? All right, if you read that, it talks about God allowing Satan to go into someone's life and test them to see how much they love God. So that's the key. How much do you love your father? Is your father just a human? Like this guy in this situation where he can't go get his kid and protect him like that? His wife, I want my child back. Can you go make it happen like that? No, you got to go talk to some other men, or you got to go talk to some other women. When you got to use other people on this planet that God created just to make something happen for you. All right. Like God can say, fill my tanker. I want gas in my car right now. It's going to happen. Whether he creates new people or gas just magically fill up the tank, it's going to happen. You can't do that. You got to call someone. Or you got to have someone come up and pump your gas tank for you. You can't just, they may see you drive in and things like that, but it's dependent on that person showing up for work. Now, if they don't show up for work, your whole day mess up, ain't it? Your whole lifestyle mess up, ain't it? If they don't show up for work, you can't do nothing. If you sign a contract, a basketball contract, and those fans stop showing up to the game, how you gonna get paid? The owners ain't getting paid either. All right, the owners ain't getting paid. How y'all gonna get paid? You got to think about that. How you gonna eat? You know, you go to a fancy restaurant, they say they closed today. Nobody's cooking today. How you gonna eat? You gonna go home and cook you a dinner the same way? Are you able to cook a dinner the same way? Probably not. You haven't learned those skills. Some of these people have been cooking since a child, and then they get into schooling and things like that. They learn new techniques and skills. That's a lot of work, and that takes into it. Now, for those who just exercise a lot, exercise, that's a part of everybody's life. Some exercise more than others. Some may lift weights and things like that. But are you still the same size you're supposed to be? Do you fit within your body? Are your glutes too big? Are your calf muscles too big? Do your tendons feel in pain when you stand up and walk? Can you stand up straight and just feel like how you used to feel when you was a kid, just loose? You can jump on things and swing on things, and you can just move real fast, and you don't get sore and things like that. Or do you got these bodies where you got to crank up them muscles, get them warmed up and things like that? You stop exercising, a lot of that you're going to lose. And then if you lose it, then that's a waste of time, wasn't it? You could have been doing something else rather than building all those muscles and things like that. Now, but if you're using those muscles where you're going out getting steel, or you herding elephants, oxes, and horses and things that's strong, that you need that power, dealing with lions sometimes, like if you're living in the wild and things like that, where you don't have boundaries, where animals coming in where you live at and things like that. I'm talking about in countries. I'm talking about countries that set up that haven't went for technology but still live the way they live, and they're over the animals. They're strong enough to hold them, control them, things like that. That's a good use of muscle. Now, other people, maybe not. Protein shakes and all that stuff, you're not building it naturally. So, again, you got to think about that. Some of you like to sprint. All right, try walking. How far can you walk on those legs and on those muscles? You're going to need a lot of water to stay hydrated. You may start getting cramps and things like that. That's a lot to think about. So, again, some people are just comfortable with making money. That's how they feel powerful and rich. But if you don't have people under you able to do what you want to do, like some people, they want to be able to be pampered. They want to go to a spa and just have everything done for them sometimes. Sometimes you can pay for that. But it's dependent on the person, how they treat you, if they like you or not. Are they going to do things for you 100% accurate and 100% right every time so you can have the best life you have on this planet? Do you have control over that? You don't. What do you have control of? What you're able to do. Now, if you're one of those workers where you're giving that service, you're making that person feel like the best person ever. You're serving them, doing the best you can. That's how you get blessed. And we're going to talk about that when we get to Joseph. And why these things happen. Why do you think Pharaoh gave him a wife? Was it to be deceptive to him, or was it they showing kindness? Like, hey, we want you in our family. We see God is blessing you. Your God is blessing you. We don't know a lot about you, but we want you in our family. That's a good way to marry someone that's not in the same religion of you. You've been around them, you've been doing things for them, and they starting to see your religion rubbing off. That's how you get involved in that. Now, if you're just going up, she look good, got a body, things like that. Women, you should know that. You should know those signs. All right, if a guy comes up to you, ain't been around, dressing nice, look like a police officer, maybe he's super fit, look like he was in the military, you know that testosterone is high, so horniness is going to be a factor. How are you dressed, ladies? Are you dressed in a way where you're revealing certain body parts? And just like in the previous video, if you talk about sex addiction, when women see a guy and they naturally start lusting after them, they naturally see them like, oh, he look good. Like, you want that number, or you want something, you want a hug or something bad. Like, men feel the same way. They see that girl, oh, I got to talk to her. She look good. It's the same way. All right. So you got to recognize those signs, how they look, how they dress, and then you got to know if that's what you want. All right. Sometimes that it may be what you want for that day or for that month, but you may not want it long term as far as marriage. They may have certain qualities that you want, but it's not the total package. So wait for the total package. Other than that, God is love. Have a great day.